Hello.
Everybody. I'm putting chat over there and getting our timer set up. How was everybody's weekend? If you participated in the Storytellers Hearth, tell me what you got done, if you had a good weekend, and all of the lovely J's. Sorry, I was like, I don't need those Google tabs anymore. I found out what I wanted.
Yeah, I'm also sorting through my tabs to figure out working on stuff today.
Hey yo Kelly, hey yo RP. I like half participated in the Storytellers Hearth. I also had a bunch of family things that I had to do. Like Friday, I was in the opening ceremony. Then we went to my child's school for trunk or treat, and then Saturday was in Sarah's break stream, and then I ran my stream and had to rush out the apps for Boo at the Zoo. And then Sunday was on a stream, and then sat in for another stream, then had to go pick up my husband at work, and then was in the closing ceremony. But I still got the writing that I wanted to get in done. I read CB's script, and I finished most of Laura's story. But after the closing ceremony, I went ahead and finished reading the rest of Laura's story, so I count that as a win. And then
Nice.
this is my updated list of things that I need to get done before the 1st, including reading this book, which I actually only have to read 52 pages a day, which shouldn't be that bad. We'll see. It's just written very old-timey. And like I'm enjoying the characters and the story. Maurice is a cute little cinnamon roll at the moment. I've been following him since he had the birds and the bees talk as a preteen from one of his teachers. Because he has no dad, so like he went to an all boys school, and his teacher was like, I think that like it's because gender roles very strict in that era. So he's like, you need a man to teach you about this, and I'm like, sure. The talk was not the best, but he tried. And then like he goes to middle school and that, and he's got like some feelings, but he can't like figure them out. But now we are in university, and he got a crush on a boy, and sort of I guess he's coming to it finally has clicked with him that it was a crush, and he could not sleep that night, and so he like the next day he wakes up late, he misses chapel and 2 classes. He's got a mild cold now because he's like he had got rained on and soaked through. He's just having himself a day. And then he goes to sleep and he wakes up feeling great, and he's like, okay, yeah. And he's like, so I got a crush on him, but he doesn't hate me, and I can be happy with that. He's like one step at a time. And I'm like, you know what? I really like that. He's like, I have to come to terms with my feelings before I worry about anybody else. And like now they're friends and stuff. I am unsure if the other boy has a crush on him or it's just super social. We will see. Because I'm only this far in. Like this is where I am.
So, I see.
Yeah, page 42 of 200 something, 240 something. So yes. RP had a good weekend, was not able to do the Storytellers Hearth because I was in DC for the weekend. Oh, how'd your marathon go? But I went to the Arlington, which was pretty awesome, and then I ran the Marine Corps Marathon in 4 hours, 15 minutes, 39 seconds Sunday morning. Awesome. Kelly said the weekend was great. I got a bunch of writing done, and now I'm at 500 words from... Now I am 500 words away from cracking 40K.
Oh, awesome. Wow.
Hey, yo.
Hello.
Got a cool finisher's medal and everything. That is awesome.
Nice.
Tina, how was your weekend?
My weekend. Well, the thing is that I had reading week last week, and my roommate is also out of town, so the entire 2 weekends plus week just became a blur. Um, but I spent most of it reading my Sports Mafia Gaze books, I should say, um, and procrastinating on my schoolwork, but slowly chipping away at it. And yeah, and I also went to my dad's at one point, um, and they sent me home with some apple pie I haven't eaten yet, which is nice. I got to take care of that. Um, but uh, but yeah, and I don't have any plans for the Halloween, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to mention. Um, oh, I have in my communications class, we had to write a little essay thing, and we got it graded yesterday. And today in class, during our break, the teacher like came up to me and my friend and sat in front of us, and then turned to me and went, "You should be a writer." And I like, I immediately started to like giggle and blush.
No.
But the thing is that she explained because like I got a B minus on it, which like I don't particularly care. And it was a thing. This was the one where I had written the outline. It was in chat that I mentioned where I like had written the outline, was sick of looking at it, and then figured out that my outline was basically the essay, and so I just polished it up and handed it in.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked at the feedback yet, but from what the teacher told me in class, I apparently started to stray too much away from the structure she wanted, and so she was dinging me marks, trying to reel me back in.
Ah.
But it's fine though. I don't care. Um, I'm like, it's also too is like this is probably the last class where I will have to write a like essay for my program, and I'm like, I don't care about getting better at it. I know it's like important to do it, but like also
You're
too
like
like this class is a lot of review. Um,
you're
I'm
like
like I'll
essays
take
are
that loss,
not going to be part of my job. I don't.
hmm especially because like our next projects will very much be part of my job, and so I'm like those ones are the ones that I actually want to like pay attention in class and all that good stuff and like take notes and all that good stuff. But like yeah, today's class was mostly just about like finding sources and citing them in like APA and all that. And I'm like, I already know how to do this. The only handy thing about it was that I didn't know how to use this school's specific like online library, journal articles, scientific papers thing. And so I had tried to use it previously and got fed up with it, and immediately wanted the one from my university back. But in this class, she taught us how to use it, and I was like, brilliant. But otherwise, yeah, I was very like bleh. I know, right? I like the thing is too is that she was like, I hope you become a writer after. What are you doing here? Because my program is not really related to writing, and I was like, I do write narrative stuff sometimes, but like didn't elaborate any further. She didn't ask me any further.
Like,
But
why are you here? A paycheck, man.
Yeah, I
Paycheck.
literally said I was like creative writing doesn't pay the bills.
Really does not.
And I'm going back to school to pay the dang bills.
Every now and then, my children are like, "So, how much money do you make from streaming?" And I'm like, "I don't."
Yeah.
I'm like, I do not, in fact, get paid to stream, children. I'm sorry to dash your little dreams.
Oh,
Yes.
someday.
Someday I
Um,
might. Well, when I first started, I did consider like I wanted to grow my platform, so my platform did pay. But now I just want to use my platform to build a community.
mm,
So like I have very different objectives now. So I don't expect my platform to ever actually pay my bills.
hmm
So
Yeah.
I don't have the health or the resources to build my platform up.
That's
Which is,
fair.
yeah, because like you have to have the resources in one way or another in order to build an online platform to make money, and I don't have like the time and health resources that would go into it.
Mm-hmm.
I tried, and it's nope. I the content I started putting out was not of a quality that I liked anymore. So I was
Mm.
like, nope, I'm gonna just backpedal. But it's all good. I like the community that I've built.
Yeah,
And
you guys are
people
fun.
who hang out and stuff. And we get things done.
Yeah. Like right now, I'm currently doing a thing for school that doesn't require me to actually think. Uh, so I'm literally just tip tapping away at it. But
Yes. As far as reading goes, I haven't been getting a lot of reading. I did like start listening to These Violent Ends, which is taking me forever to get through.
is that one
Um,
related to these violent delights?
it's a
Or
duology. That's the second one.
okay.
I've read the first one for the Year of Favorites readathon, and like I had a hold on the second one just because I'm like I kind of want to see how it ends. But like it's a Juliet and Romeo and Juliet retelling, sort of. And I am not the biggest fan of Romeo and Juliet in general.
Oh,
Uh,
do tell why. I'm curious.
it's, it's a play about a 17 or 18-year-old boy who falls in love with a 13 or 14-year-old girl and then convinces her to run away with him when he had previously been in love to her cousin Rosalind, who's like just slightly older than her. And like some of the characters even like shade him for that when he's like talking about how much he's in love with Juliet, and they're like, "Oh wait, are you talking about Rosalind? Like, weren't you in love with Rosalind?" And he's like, "No, no, no, I'm talking about Juliet." And I'm like, "So I don't know how in love he is with anybody." But then like I want to say I know for sure Mercutio, who's like my favorite character,
He's the best.
dies.
Yeah,
Like he gets murdered
unfortunately.
for like because Tybalt, Juliet's cousin, is like
Yeah.
rightfully pissed that Romeo's trying to get in Juliet's pants. But Tybalt is portrayed as, oh no, Tybalt's just like flying off the rocker. But he's all like, I'm just trying to protect Juliet. And then he goes to kill Romeo. But Mercutio, who is ride or die for his, I forgot if they're related or if they're just
I
friends.
think they might. I'm trying to remember actually if they
They're
are
part
also
of the
cousins or
same.
if they're not related.
I think they're both Montagues, but I don't know like how they're related per se. Um, but yeah, so he
I
dies,
want to say they're
and he's like,
cousins.
a curse on both your houses because all y'all suck. But he like dies saving Romeo. And I'm like, why my man gotta die saving this dumbass? And then they like, and then it's just yeah, the
Okay,
whole
they are.
tragedy of, oh well, she thought that Romeo was dead and therefore like she drinks the poison, and then like he wakes up and he's like, oh no, she's dead, so now I must kill myself. And I'm like, why? and, and
So,
then this somehow ends their feud. Like this ends the generational war because people are like, "Oh no, why couldn't we just get along? Then they wouldn't have died." And I'm like, "But he was going out with Rosalind, and y'all still had a problem." But like it's portrayed that this is like all like this is like part of it is just because Juliet was so beloved amongst the Capulets, and I'm like favoritism at its
yeah,
highest.
screw Rosalind.
Poor Rosalind. I like there's this webtoon. that's like it's called Go Away, Romeo, and it's actually from Rosalind Capulet's point of view, and I fucking love that. That's a Romeo and Juliet retelling that I am down with. But like,
I
yeah, these Violet July, like, it's one of those things where they
wait
have made it their
one.
own story. I'm not gonna like do
No,
spoilers.
I just wanted to quickly put it aside
Go ahead.
before you get into the retelling. I looked it up. Mercutio is Romeo's best friend, not related. He's not
Yeah. Okay.
a
Yeah.
Montague. I was thinking of Benvolio, who is Romeo's cousin and a Montague.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I just wanted to put that before you go into the retelling.
No, I appreciate that. And then, but like these they like I'm gonna just call it these Violet duology. It it makes it their own in enough that I am interested, but then it does follow certain like Romeo and Juliet things that I'm just like, like why? But also like this is a little bit spoily, but in the first book, part of the plot is they're trying to like find this monster thing, and they like settle that, right? And then the second book is somebody was like, "Oh, I have the monster thing now, and now I'm blackmailing everybody." And like even like I just listened to a chapter where our Romeo character, he's all like this is basically we're just repeating the pattern that we did before, and they're like, yeah, we're doing the same thing, and I'm like, yeah, and I have to listen to you do the same thing, so could we change it up? Can we do something else? um Also the romances will they won't they, and I don't particularly enjoy when the will they won't they takes too long. Like the thing with a will they won't they is that you know that they will at the end of it, so you have to make the won't they like you have to execute the won't they in a way that is enjoyable or
Mhm.
like intriguing. I just get annoyed at most of them, and right now they won't they because she did a thing so that he would hate her, and therefore he hates her and she's okay with that, but like he can't actually hate her, and I'm like, oh my god, just tell him the truth. But yeah, so I'm like, when I listen to it, I enjoy it. It's one of those things where when I'm actively reading it, I'm fine, but like picking it up is a challenge.
Mm.
I was very similar with Blood Race, and then I like went and bought Blood Race 2 because now I have questions that need answers. So
Yeah, I was telling you before the stream, but I'll tell the people. I am continuing to read my. Uh, I keep calling it. I keep wanting to call it like my sports mafia gaze books. It's the series is called All for the Game. I'm currently on the third book, which is the last of the original trilogy, which I'm currently rereading so that I can read the start of the new trilogy. Which directly follows. And it's also a thing of they came out with like a not a Lumicrate. I think it's called Rainbow Crate. They came out with like special editions with like a crate and in a fancy box. But when they did that, they included an extra story for every single book that was like not a thing before, right? Like it's exclusive to these editions. And thankfully, someone posted those extra stories. But and so I've been doing where like it's a fun thing of like not only I'm rereading because I knew I forgot a bunch of details for the fourth book, but it's also like every time it's like I'll sometimes I'll be reading and I'm like I'm bored because I already know what happens, and then I'm like oh but the extra story is coming up and I'm like oh the extra story, and then I continue reading, um, but uh, but yeah, no, it's been fun, and also at the same time, like the crate thing plus the new book coming out, because also too, I mentioned this last stream, but the original trilogy came out from 2012 to 2013, And the new part of the trilogy came out this September. So it has been 10 years in between. Probably because it hit a renaissance around like 2021, 2022, which is when I found out about it. But and then proceeded to binge through the entire series in like, I think I did like 3 books in 3 days, because it was in January, and I have seasonal affective disorder, and I think I had like, it was like New Year's, like long weekend sort of shenanigans. But yeah, I like pummeled through it. This time I've been taking my sweet time because I actually have to do things with school. But
Life.
but yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. It is a thing too of I've also been giving my friend who's an English teacher these little like TED Talks about the characters. Because she has no interest in reading the book, but we do an exchange where we like talk about lore of things we like to each other. And actually last night I just kind of like verbally I had already typed it out, but then like we were on the phone anyway, and I was like, do you want me to just read it to you? And thank you. But yeah. But yes, yeah, it's a thing of like, we were on the phone, I like read out to her my talk, and it's a funny thing of I have a like research paper due, and I was talking to a friend about it, and who's in that class, and the friend was like, oh, it's so long, it's like it's such a long report, and it's 6 pages, and I was like, isn't it only like 700 to 1,000 words? Turns out I was wrong, it's 1,500 to 2,000 words. But I had literally wrote 6,000 words about this one character to my friend. And I'm only halfway through explaining their arc. And so I'm like, 2,000 words is nothing.
Like, you don't even know.
But I also tend to be like, especially when it comes to like papers and things, I've noticed that I'm an overwriter. But yeah, no. And considering I'm like, speaking of the fit, the very closet cosplay-ish that I'm currently doing, I have yet to read in For the Locked Tomb. There's an extra story at the end of the 3rd book, I believe it is, that I haven't read yet because it wasn't in my edition of the book that I had read. I have it.
I'm actually reading the 3rd book right now.
Huh?
Nona. I said Rowan in chat is actually reading Nona right now.
Please, I'm like, you're on the Sam's Realm chat. Please feel free to like at me in the chat or even direct message me and talk about it, because yeah, I'm so excited for the new book. It's gonna be so good. But yes, I have to read that extra story, and I've been like savoring it, and I'm like, maybe after I finish with my sports mafia gaze, I will pick it up and read it, because my friend the English teacher is also the one where we buddy read it together. I say buddy read. She is like always leagues ahead of me in terms of reading, and then I like, as I catch up, she literally starts rereading the books.
That's me and Matt, and like when we were reading through the Raven King, or the Raven cycle, and he'd be like, hey, I'm almost at the last chapter, and then I would go reread the book real quick, and then when he was on Raven King, which is the last book, I was like, I'll just reread the series while you read this one. So I feel that. Chris and I are currently buddy reading what is the series called? Like Progeny? It's by Marissa Mayer, whom I think is most well known for her Cinder series. This is her take on superheroes, which I've been finding very interesting. My husband likes to like talk about the way that it's funny to me, because whenever we watch like, I'm gonna say indie hero stuff, he like gets very into like how superheroes and stuff are done, and I'm like, you can do superheroes however you want to do superheroes, in my opinion. You don't have to follow comic book superhero rules.
Yeah.
Comic book superheroes don't even follow comic book superhero rules.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, some of the because the thing with comic books is comic book superheroes very like they try really really hard to follow like science rules, which is why like superhero stuff is always kind of more sci-fi than it is anything else. With like if they're doing magic or something, it is a notable exception, right? They'll be like, oh well, they are using magic, like that is their thing. Like Superman is weak to magic for some reason. That's one of his weaknesses. And so, but I feel like some superhero, I don't need the scientific rules on why their powers work. You could just tell me their powers work, and I'm like, magic. Like, you can be a magical superhero. But, like, I also really enjoy magical girl anime, so that could be why that is my attitude. But, like, I think it's called Progeny. I'll look up the title in a second. Like, one of the characters, the way like, if you try to break it down in a science way, no, their power makes absolutely no sense. But if I look at it as with like a magic rule set, it makes a lot of sense. Hey, yo, Jessica.
I
So
could have sworn.
it's been very interesting. Like it's been very fun having those conversations and stuff about
Mhm.
the different magic, like superhero powers and everything. And we were also like we were mutually like we were trying to figure out this one character's age, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure, like based on the text and everything, that he's like only 5 or 6 years older than the main character. He's not a love interest. He's like they have a familial like brother sister bond thing. But we were trying to figure out because like the way that they talk about him a little bit sometimes, it feels like he's supposed to sort of be in his 30s. But also the way that he talks, he's like very immature, very youngish. But I was like, they said that he grew up alongside the main character, but like was a bit older than her. So I always got the vibe he was like, you know, she was 8, he was 12 or 13. Right? She's 12, he's like 17, 18. And then like we tried to like Google his age, and all we could find was like fan things, and fan things will put him anywhere between 22 and 40. And I'm like, oh, fans, just doing what they want.
um, I could have sworn you. I think it was you that mentioned that you're potentially reading Sega as.
Yes, that is.
Yes, yes. I love that series so much. I have to
I
catch up on it. I'm very
actually
behind, but
hold on. I'm trying to take this thing off my finger. My son accidentally stole one of the library baskets. Don't worry, we'll be taking it back. Get through. So for November, my library haul, I have My Lady Jane. Any novels I'm reading because the people didn't have a favorite comic book. But I found My Lady Jane. I have 3 of the 4 Neil Gaiman Sandman volumes. Thankfully, volume 1 is on Libby, so I'll be reading that there. And then, ooh, 9 out of 11 of Saga.
wait. I
Yeah.
I am so behind. I think I'm only on volume like 8 or something.
I'm missing 1 and 9, but again, Libby has my back. It has them, so these are heavy. Okay, so Kelly, what happened was I was using the basket to haul the books around to checkout, right? Then I loaded the books in my library bag because they sell these nifty bags at my library, and we all have one. Well, I told him to take the basket and to because the like stack of baskets is near the entrance. I told him I was like, here, you handle the basket. And then like we're walking and we're talking and stuff, and we get to the car, and my son goes, "Mom, what do you want me to do with the basket?" And I look at him, and he still has the basket in his hand. And I'm like, "You were supposed to put it on the stack of baskets." He's like, "You didn't say that." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess that's fair." But like we had already walked back to the car, and so I was like, "We'll just bring it back next time we come to the library. It's fine." But yes, he accidentally stole the library basket. It's okay. Jessica's gonna be crocheting and then trying to read. I stayed trying because my brain is mushy right now. So that's fair.
That's fair.
I need something happy to distract me because I was cry watching the show 1883, the Yellowstone spinoff. Well, hopefully the library theft story gave you a chuckle. You felt so bad too. But yes, technically for the Year of Favorites readathon, I think the expectation is just to read volume 1, but it's comics, so
That's me with like every comic. It's like I can just read one more episode and then I read like 15. Um,
oh god, so heavy
um but yeah, I really do think you'll like Sega.
though. Let's do it.
It's yeah, and then also the same writer did one called Why the Last Man. Y is in like the letter Y, which apparently got adapted to a show. But then I didn't. I think I was gonna watch it, and then I didn't end up watching it. But I spent like so many years being like, they're gonna adapt it, and I'm so worried about the quality of this adaptation because it's a really risky one to adapt. Um, but
Rowan is still trying to outline the first act of my D&D campaign.
oh, that's what
I
I was
wish
gonna
you
tell
luck.
you guys. I have. I'm gonna be a part of a campaign with my friendos.
Oh, awesome.
And I actually still have to work on my character for that actually, and backstory it up. It's it's the spooky one. It's Curse of the Strahd, and
Oh, that one's
I'm
fun.
like I have notes that I need to look at again to figure out exactly how I want my backstory to go. I have like options, and I'm like fussing around with whether I want to make my character like angsty, tragic backstory or like pull a switcheroo from my usual of doing that. Um,
She has found us, y'all. It only took her like 2 months, but she found the new streaming location.
oh, Artemis baby, I miss her.
Ah, excuse you. She's like, Mother, this chair is not built for us. I know, Artemis. Father did not consider you when he purchased his chair. He wanted a captain seat because he's a nerd, but I love him. All right. I will be reading this, our first sprint. I need to read 52 pages. We'll see how far I get. Like, this is the yellow sheet is the goal we're trying to get here. That if I can have my hands. I'm trying to get to the mouse. Somebody's making this much more difficult for me. I don't know who could possibly be doing it. But all right, we will see you in 30. 3, 2, 1, go. And we're back. How did everybody do?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sources for my research paper, and I only need 5 to 8, but I only looked at them briefly, so I don't know if I'll actually use them yet. I'm just gathering things at the moment.
Fair enough. I read 14 pages. I'm 99% certain that the other boy is interested in our boy. And they are slowly filling each other out. One interesting thing is our boy has, well, he's been released from his religious upbringing. And he's mildly annoyed by it because he thought that, like, when he told his mom, I'm not going to church anymore, that she would, like, fuss and they'd fight and stuff. She made a mild fuss about it, but then she she had been like, well, Mr. So and so is a clever man, and Mrs. Barry's is the same. And then, like, his sisters were like making fun of their mom for being like, "Oh, Mrs. Barry is a man now, mom," and she's like, "You know, that's not what I meant." And then, like, nothing was ever said again, and he's like, "The fuck?" He's like, "Why are we not fighting about this more?" And then, like, no one in the neighborhood or anybody else like cared either, and he's like, I don't think society cares the way that they say they do. And then during, like, a class or something, one of the teachers was like, and they're reading something, they're like, and we will omit the act of the Greeks. And he's like, the fuck does that mean? And his friend was like, he's like, why are we omitting anything? And his friend that he's interested in, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, that thing that, like, is known for being things that Greeks did, and was like a backbone of Athenian society. Like, what's the backbone of Athenian
I
society? But it
mean,
was like, I suggest over the break. Well, they call it the back, but it's like over the break you read these things on it, and I'm like, our boy about to learn about gay things. Interesting way for these things to be spoken about in this book. But yes. Uh Hey, no problem. We're glad you stopped in. Hope you're doing well. Other than the red detailing, which I'm doing later, sleeve one is done. Now on to sleeve two. Ah, yeah. I saw
yay!
a picture of, I think, the main part of the cardigan in the Troublemaker server. It looked huge and like it will be cozy. Got 273 words written. Nice.
Nice, nice.
Trying to see 93 minus what page am I on? I'm like, how many more do I have to do? 55. I have 38 more pages. Will I get them read this stream? We don't know. I am a notoriously not a fast reader. I'm a marathon reader. Very different things. Oh, I was also aggressively loved by Artemis for a while. But it's okay. I could still read around her. I'm used to it. It's so big it reaches the floor, and I will adore it. Oh, awesome.
Oh, the cardigan?
Yeah.
Oh man. I
I'm
love
a
a
hundred.
big fluffy cardigan.
I'm 100% sure now that I will have enough for a hood for it too. So, ooh, extra cozy.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
like Jessica posted a picture of it in the Troublemaker server on, I believe she said her king size bed, and it like
Oh
takes
man.
up the like most of the bed, if I remember correctly.
Damn.
Like lengthwise, it takes up most of the bed, and that's like without the sleeves too. I was like, damn, thing looks cozy. RP said, me and a couple buddies were brewing up a new Magic the Gathering deck on my way home. So I've been figuring out how I want to test the deck because I won't be able to focus on anything else until I figure it out. That's fair. Magic the Gathering is doing a collaboration with Final Fantasy. and my husband is in love. Well, okay, we're both in love with a lot of the artwork, and I was telling my husband he needs to get a binder just for like prints of the Final Fantasy art because it's so pretty. Like regardless of how anybody feels about Magic the Gathering, their art is always great. I wonder if Steve Argyle is doing any of it. My husband's favorite and MTG artist, or if he's still working with them. I'm on my second 1 pound skein of yarn, so you know it's huge.
Oh, that is big. I have actually a knitting project here that I'm working on because I've been having fun knitting in the round, and so I have start of skirt. It's hard to see, but it's skirt. Um,
Nice.
the thing is that this one I have one that I did what that was intentionally a skirt. This one might be end up being a skirt, might end up being a dress. I need to buy more yarn. But I've just kind of been having fun just noodling away at it with like no intention of like a specific thing in mind.
That's fair.
So
Hey,
we shall see.
Lisa. 2 more sprints. Insert Bernie meme here. I am once again asking for someone to tell me to go do your laundry.
It's laundry day.
Go put it in the washer. Because I think, do we need to wash the laundry or do we just need to put it away? That is it. That was a very nice color.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's my favorite kind of blue. I have done many a project with that specific yarn. I constantly rebuy it on Amazon.
They're collaborating with everyone now. They have a Final Fantasy set next year. They're doing Marvel crossover soon, and they did an Assassin's Creed set and a Lord of the Rings set a couple years ago. I guess this is how they're trying to like get themselves out of the hole they dug when they started like mass producing sets. Both we need to wash, then dry, then can put in a pile, and that's fine. Well, let us get started on that with the wash. Maybe you can make it a mermaid tail blanket if all else fails.
Maybe. I don't I've seen stuff like that on Pinterest, and the only thing is that I'm not a big fan of the idea of like being in sort of a sleeping bag sort of situation. Like I would prefer just a straight up blanket. Because I tend to like gargoyle or like sit cross-legged as I currently am. And I have actually knitted already a blanket for the couch. Although eventually the one I have for the couch, it's like that like plush, like really fluffy yarn. So it's really heavy is the thing. Like it's more a wintry blanket, and eventually I will need to make one for that's more summery because I definitely accidentally fell asleep on the couch in the summertime with that blanket and woke up just like covered in sweat. But it being knitted makes it pretty breathable, especially the stitch I usually use.
Yeah.
But still, I need to definitely whip up a lighter one eventually. Yeah.
I got the crocheting. I don't 100% know why. I think what happened was my son saw a dice bag I made, and he was just so enamored with it. And then I was picking up a sewing kit to do something, and I saw some like yarn. And I was like, oh, I could make dice bags out of that. So I've been making dice bags. This is my 3rd square that I will be working on because I want to make sure they're all like relatively the same size for my children. So right now I'm just making the squares that I will then sew into. Artemis, don't you dare.
I hope the children still like the little purses bags that I knitted for them while I was there. It was a great way to pass the time while we were driving.
The youngest definitely like utilizes hers. My oldest has like not a coaster per se, but he uses it as like a cushion for one of his buckets for something. So he can like move the bucket around. But he also doesn't like generally he's very much a pockets person. He puts everything in his pocket.
That's fair.
So yeah.
It was like, more a thing of
wish I could have pockets. But yes, they very much they like them. And I have seen them in existence, so
Because yeah, when I was there, it was a thing of you know, had brought needles, like my knitting needles, and had brought like the stuff like to sew things together if need be. But like planning to make something for the children, but I hadn't actually brought the yarn. And then I think it was on the first night I was there, maybe the second day. We went to Walmart because we went to Walmart many times throughout that trip. But we went to Walmart, and me and the youngest were standing in front of the yarn, and I like got I eventually got each of them, but first the youngest to pick out a ball of yarn that they liked. But then as she was picking it out, I was like, "Do I make them scarves? This is Tennessee. Scarves would be the easiest to make." But I don't know if they would actually use it. So I turned to the child and was like,
Oh yeah,
"Do you wear scarves here?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, okay, new
she's
plan."
a liar. She
I mean,
misled you. No, they wear scarves,
I
especially.
see.
It's just it's mostly in the winter. My middle one, especially, he is like obsessed with keeping like a scarf. Well, it's more like a muffler because that he has
Oh, it's
like
like the
pulled
like
over.
circular.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's like a scarf, but like a full
I
like.
could actually do that with the same, because the method I'm using for that skirt, like rather than like traditional needles, you have the two needles and you're tossing it back and forth and building it up, right? This one, I'm literally working in a spiral, up because it's like all attached on a round. Like the needles themselves, I can't show you with the ones I'm currently working on, but let me grab my other set. I have it in here somewhere. Where is it? Maybe I can show you on this set that I currently have. But like, we have the two needles, but they're connected on a string. Like, it's a full circle. Um,
Yeah,
and
her she has a knitting
yeah,
wheel
I saw her knitting
and it
machine, and I
works.
was
Yeah, it
jealous.
works very similar.
Yeah, I wanted one as a child, but then my dad said that uh, he said something on the lines of like, you're not doing it yourself. But at the time, I knew how to knit. Like I had already been knitting for like at least 8 months at the time, so it wasn't like I was trying to like circumvent being able to do it. But and that does
Oh,
require like you still have to keep it like maintained. But
yeah,
as it's going,
pull
but
the
yeah,
things over.
but yeah,
Because I had
no,
to learn to use, I had to learn to use her wheel so I could teach her to use her wheel.
but yeah, no, but yeah, I could maybe in the future I will see about
Yeah.
whipping up the children some scarves, especially because the plush yarn that I used for that blanket, it's real nice for a scarf. Actually, I
I
think I
actually
used the remainder
recently
of
just
it for
had to
one.
convince her to get rid of a couple of her scarves. So see, I will like to her credit, she is 9, and so she was probably like, "Yeah, no, we're not," because the weather was warm.
Yeah,
And so probably like, "No, right now we are not wearing scarves."
yeah. It is
But
also
once
a thing too of like the little bags I made required significantly less time to make than a
yeah,
scarf would have.
and they love their.
So I was able to get all three. I was also, I
I
think,
mean, they love their
overestimating
bags.
how much knitting I would be able to do in the time, you know?
Yeah.
So,
No, I get you. I was just saying that like for my youngest to be like, "No, we never wear scarves," and I'm like,
well,
that
she
way,
didn't
especially
say
like,
never.
oh, that's fair. Well,
She just said no when I said, "Do you guys wear scarves?" So I understand that.
yeah, I'm like I said, I will assume that she just was just thinking of like currently
Yeah.
because once it gets cold and like their throats start getting like sore and stuff, I will remind them. I'll be like, "Hey, if you wear a scarf, it will protect your throat and it won't get as sore with the cold winds." And then my children are just it becomes scarf season. So like they need no further like prompting because they all hate sore throats. So I'm like, yeah. Me, however, I'll forget my scarf and then I'm just like, well, I'll just drink warm tea. like, like they're preventative, I'm treatment. That's how we deal with winter. I've been working on a cross stitch project for my friend for either Christmas or Valentine's Day, depending on when I finish it. That's also very fair.
That's fair.
I want to readjust in this chair so that I'm not sitting on my butt in this position anymore because it's starting to hurt. But I know if I do that, Artemis will jump up on the desk, which would not be an issue if it were my desk. But it's not my desk, and I don't want her to get in the habit of being on Chris's desk.
Mm.
So I'm like, my butt is just going to have to suffer for the moment. Much like my, so I don't know how anybody else does it, but this is just sort of how like I hold my yarn and stuff. And this finger is actually perfectly fine, but this one is the one that I build like calluses on because everything like goes across this finger as I'm moving, right?
Oh.
So that finger has
Yeah.
very much, because this is cheap yarn. Like I'm not gonna lie, I did not get like super soft or good yarn for these dice bags because they are dice bags. And but my finger does not appreciate this. But I'm like, it doesn't hurt enough for me to stop. So I'm like, finger, you're just gonna have to rebuild the calluses that we got rid of years ago because we haven't been crocheting. So I like can already feel it like regret. It doesn't hurt today like it had been. But I would be like, oh, my finger hurt. Like it used to be when I first started learning to crochet, when my finger hurt was when like I would stop for a while. But now I'm just like, like, well, it's only one finger. It'll be fine. Yeah, Artemis
I know
has
they
attacked
I
the
know
string.
they do make rings that are specifically to like hold the string, like to maintain tension while you're knitting, so like or crocheting, so that you don't because for me it's like the wraparound is what gets me occasionally. Although I don't think I have any calluses or anything from it
Yeah,
at the
no, I
moment.
thought about that, but
But
no, like I said, that's not the finger that the problem is. It's this
yeah.
one. And it's enlarged
Maybe
because
wearing some like a ring in that spot would prevent
I
it from
just need to put a
actually
band-aid
going
on
back.
it.
That too. But a ring
No,
would
see,
be
that's the
cool.
thing. Well, that's the thing. I know lots of ways around it. It just doesn't hurt enough for me to care. Like like the pain is not outweighed by the inconvenience of fixing it, especially when I know that like after I do it for a while, it will build up a callus in that spot. Like I've had a callus in that spot before. So it'll be fine. But no, yeah, I've seen those rings. I've been considering getting one if I start like crocheting a lot again, just because like having the ring would be more convenient than having to rewrap my finger and my hand all the time.
Hmm.
But the ring would just not do anything for my middle finger. Because like the way I hold it, my middle finger isn't actually doing much, right? Hold on. There we go. See, because I hold the bottom with these two fingers, and then I
Hmm.
hold the yarn with this finger. So it's because my middle finger is just here, and then like as I crochet, the actual thing gets pulled across my middle finger.
Hmm.
So it's that friction that's doing it. None of my actual working, like all my
Hmm.
fingers work. None of my actual fingers doing any of the work feel anything. They're fine. So no, you've been so good ignoring the yarn. Keep ignoring it. Yeah. She vaguely remembers when I used to like crochet a lot and I would crochet and then she would eventually have a little blanket of my project. You see how she positions herself? She's like, yes, I can hold the blanket for you. Tina, did you freeze? I think she did. I just thought she was very still for a moment, but I think you're right. I think she froze. Oh, she'll be back. So I had a thing I was going to ask everyone. Oh, so it's been a discussion going around a lot lately that I've seen people trying to find alternatives to NaNoWriMo because of the controversy that came up around it was it last year? I think it was last year. It was either last year or the year before last. But either way, so this year a lot of people are trying to find alternatives to NaNoWriMo. So are any of you who usually would participate in NaNoWriMo, are you still going to participate? Or are you trying to find an alternative? Or have you already found your alternative? There were I know they were discussing alternatives in either Holly Davis's stream number 12 or in the, I don't think we were talking about it in the closing chat, but I think they were talking about it in Holly Davis's. Oh, what was the one this year? Because I only know about the one last year. Or was the one this year like a follow-up to the one last year? Because, like, I tried to participate in Nano years ago, but Tina says her internet went kaput. So she may or may not be back. But yeah, I originally wanted to do Nano, but because I wanted to get into the community and stuff when I first got back into writing, but there was a lot of the Nano community in the forums and stuff that I didn't particularly gel with, because a lot of the attitude was to get your words in no matter what, and like you can just edit or delete the words later. Welcome back, Tina.
I'm back! My
About
internet just completely crapped out. But it doesn't seem to be my Wi-Fi, actually. It seems to be Firefox crapped out on me.
Oh, that was rude of it.
Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, but so I didn't like a lot of the attitudes surrounding Nano when I first joined, because they were just like about getting words out, and people would talk about how many times they won Nano and stuff, but nobody like actually talked about their stories, just their word counts. And so that wasn't really what I wanted to do. But then when I got involved in the YouTube writing community, a lot of people who participated in Nano did talk about their stories, and like they would talk about their word counts. But I felt it was a much healthier attitude around it. Like it wasn't just about making the word count regardless. And like there was also more like grace and forgiveness about like if you can't do your word count, or if you need to like take a break, or if you accidentally burned yourself out early. So I liked the Nano community and on YouTube, and I supported them. But then the stuff happened last year, and I know like Jess and I will now, Sarah and I are we're going to change the months that the Storytellers Hearth takes part to like further separate ourselves from Nano because of the previous controversy. But like I said, I was very curious as to people this year. Jessica is doing the 100K with Kate challenge, where you try to write 100K from October to the end of the year. Ooh, how are you doing with that then? Because you're about 1/3 into that, right? Month-wise. Sarah Cannon with Heart Breathings is doing her own writing event that has more flexibility. I might try that one, but I'm not sure. I like Sarah Cannon. I haven't watched a ton of her content, but I have like watched her content about like where she talks about her book sales models, and how she's basically like as an indie author, this is how like her stats and stuff, and I liked her in-depth details on that, and basically how she's like, yeah, so this is like the results of my what's the word I'm looking for? The result of practicing what I preach and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's really cool. The one this year was them coming out in support of AI. Oh. Well then.
Yeah, what was the previous year's ones? I don't actually know about that. I only know about this most recent one.
Okay, I forgive my memory, because we know, and my shot's wearing off. I may be a little fuzzy. But last year or the year before, it came out that somebody who was working for, like, one of the admins on the forums, or just somebody like high up in the forums who was officially affiliated with Nano, was using the Nano forums and stuff to speak with minors in inappropriate ways. And like,
Okay.
but I want to say the FBI, but I don't remember if it was the FBI. But somebody had started an investigation into that, and Nano themselves remained silent. Like, they never said anything. And because of that, Jess and I were like, we're like, we don't want to be associated with Nano anymore, because like it's one thing if it's like, oh, that was just the one employee, and like now we're going to, like, you know, go through and check up all, like, make sure nobody else is doing it or not, and then it could be like, okay. But to stay silent on it did not gel with us. So the drama this year is that Nano made a statement about AI and said they didn't condemn the use of using AI to write your story, not just using AI for the help in the process, like research.
I mean, I have dug into this, and they basically had a bunch of reasons that are like, at best, were basically being like their stance was not, we don't condemn AI for this, this, and this. It was like, you should not condemn AI at all because it can benefit people in this way and this way. But their ways were basically inferring things like, oh, if you have a disability, you just have to use AI to write your stuff. Like, it was very, yeah, like, it was, yeah, the way they were like almost like very like condescending about it was a part of like what people, you know, were up in arms about. But also too, like, part of the reason they made that statement is because they are being sponsored by Pro Writing Aid, which has gone hard on like the AI. Like, we're already technically like a AI, like, in terms of
I was about
like,
to say,
not generative AI, but they've
I
leaned
used,
into the generative AI.
I was going to say, I used Pro Writing Aid, and like one of the things I liked about Pro Writing Aid above other things, above other like grammar checkers, was that it would explain to me its suggestions and the grammar rules and why it was crossing certain things out. So if they've like, if they've now gotten sketchy with their AI, I'm gonna be a little sad. But like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they have, unfortunately.
they used AI a lot, but in my opinion, previously they used AI in like helpful, like the ways that
Well,
AI should be utilized, right?
yeah, well, the thing is that there's different types of AI,
Yeah.
right? And the one that people have the most issue with, and is the one gobbling up the, you know, most resources and also plagiarizing people, is generative AI. I don't know what, because grammar checkers are also technically AI, and even like Google
Yeah, they have
Maps and
to.
stuff is also AI. I just don't know what that type of AI is called.
Yeah, no, I get
But
you. I'm glad that they're like coming out with different categories, because our like AI is a really general, broad umbrella.
yeah, that's
But
the
yeah,
thing,
I
is
can
like,
see.
and people, when they talk about AI, they don't specify enough. And
They
that's part of
really
the thing
don't.
here too,
But
is
yeah,
that like
so generative AI is specifically the AI that takes
yes.
resources and creates.
Yes. Which is why it's called
I'm gonna
generative, right? It
loosely say
generates
it
something
creates new content.
new. It
To
like
place it
it
loosely.
takes in and then regurgitates the average, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
But
So
yeah, and like that stuff like ChatGPT, Dolly, like that's all generative AI,
okay.
right? Whereas, like, yeah, spell checkers, Google Maps, they're a different type of AI that we don't really have a name for, because the thing is that it all used to just be called AI, and then generative AI came on the scene, and like it's
Old school
I
AI.
mean, yeah, old school AI.
Back in my
Actually,
day, AI.
oh my god, okay. Short aside about the book series I'm reading with the sports mafia gays. It takes place in the early 2000s, and at one point the main character mentions printing out MapQuest to find a location, and I was like, the throwback. But
Right. I
oh,
was
so
recently
good.
reading a middle grade horror, and in it the main character makes comics, and he like had 4 or 5 copies of his comics, and I'm like, okay,
Aw.
I'm like, are you hand drawing them? But later it like does like specify him like scanning and making copies, and I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah, he's making scenes. It's called the. That's so
like
cute.
back.
Um.
I included the plotting in it too, and I'm currently I like if
Oh
you're trying
dang.
to make a word count goal, like in general, just for productivity reasons,
Yeah,
I
count whatever you want.
100% think that like any like outlining, thought dumps, character profiles, all of those words I would put toward the goal because they are
Hmm.
words that you did to like work on your project. So
Yeah.
like I 100% agree with that. Hold on. Artemis, you can get cozy cuddly, but I need this. Otherwise, you're not going to like it when it rubs against your belly. Here you go. Lay back down.
But yeah. Yeah. So that's the whole. I mean, there are a bunch of
Hold on,
videos.
but 41K for the first third of the month,
Wait.
phenomenal.
Yeah. That's
Like,
nuts.
yeah, because that's just in October. Although I do like, I hope you get like more of the stuff done in October and November. Because if I remember right, Jess, which of course, correct me, you have children, and so I imagine December's gonna get very hectic. So I do,
Just.
as from one mom to I'm pretty sure another mom. Like, don't laugh at me, Tina. My
Just
brain
the
is
way
really
you're like,
now.
I remember you have children. That's not what I was expecting you to be like. Honest.
Sorry.
You really
Like,
got me.
then like I just, for me it depends on the year. Sometimes I get like almost nothing done in December, but like as they've gotten older, now December is one of my most productive months, or at least it was last year. So like, but I think Jessica's kids are younger. It's one of those things where it's never been discussed like outright. This just thing like small facts I think I've picked up, so I'm hoping that I'm correct. Uh, yeah, they basically said that disabled people can't write without AI, and it was
Yeah.
I don't know if this sounds bad, but I'm glad that it was Nano that said that and not Pro Writing Aid. Trying to keep
Yeah.
Pro Writing Aid because I would definitely like never use Pro Writing Aid again if they said that.
Um.
Sarah's is giving options to win the event by having tier. Oh yeah, see, tiers are great, as well as allowing it to happen in different months, not just November. See, that works great. I don't know who picked November, but I've always questioned that. Yep, that's actually what I was doing. I'm about 10K ahead so that I can skip multiple days throughout the challenge without worrying. Love that. My kiddo is 2 and 8 months. Cool, so I was right. More about the AI NaNoWriMo situation. Thank
I
you, Tina.
posted like it's like a deep dive of like NaNoWriMo's statement too, so like you get to see exactly what they said.
Can you DM that to me on Discord?
Yes.
Cool. That way
Uh,
I have that.
yeah, and
I
it's
went
a
to
good one to
open
like
the
share
tab, but I
around.
have Artemis, and I'm trying not to turn too much. Machine learning is, I think, what grammar stuff uses. It's basically the use of data / information, not actually creating, if I'm understanding it right.
So
But they're
machine
all just,
learning, yeah,
yeah,
machine learning is the term for how artificial intelligence like systems
mhm.
gather their information and process it,
Yeah. So
like
I think
regardless of
all
whether they're
AI.
generative or not.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was pretty
Hmm.
sure that machine. Again, fact check me. I don't know 100% certain, and my shot has definitely worn off.
I'm fact checking.
But
Uh,
Tina's fact checking. But I was pretty sure that machine learning was part of the AI process, not a type of AI.
yeah,
And
I
for anybody who is confused, I believe, like my personal beliefs on it are, I think the AI discussion is nuanced and that there are many angles to it. But in general, I am very judgy of creative AI and people using it in certain circumstances, like in most circumstances and whatnot.
you mean generative AI being used in creative situations,
Yes.
or Yeah, because we were just talking about like Grammarly being separate and like grammar things being separate from. I said Grammarly, but the thing is, Grammarly has also too started to like all of them have started to work in generative AI as well, which is the one that is kind of the issue and the one that like people talk about when they're talking about like AI like plagiarizing. And my thing is that like I've only ever used generative AI in like personal circumstances, not for writing. Um, the thing is that the environmental impact is astronomical for like generative AI, like stuff like ChatGPT and stuff. So I have cut it out of my life because I don't like that. Um, that it takes up water that could be drunk by people, um in the same way that I'm not cool with like Nestle taking water from people and and using it to sell otherwise. But yeah, no. So yeah, my stance on it is like, and it is also a thing too of there is currently no system of generative AI that is built off of ethical information. Like, as it currently stands, every generative AI has no like filtering of consent. And a lot of the companies that actively are like, oh no, we don't want that, because they would have less information. And then there's also the thing too of generative AI starting to like Ouroboros like eat itself too, and just like there's a whole bunch of stuff. I recently saw a thing where it was like a hospital was using generative AI. Like it was one that like it was both like a transcription service with generative elements to like record like transcribe like doctors notes and stuff, and it started throwing in inaccurate terms, which is not great for a hospital. If you're
No,
taking
there
these
in the news there have been a lot of like fuck ups with what they say is like different AI things and stuff in
Mhm.
general. I hold on, I have a thingy.
But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it, basically.
But
If you ever want to
yeah,
tag me in the Sam's Room, just like at me and like, Tina, what are your thoughts on this part of AI
I
that was
will
gonna
say as
whole
far as
ass
I
rant?
know, the like I don't know if there are any like technical or official terms, or if there are, the larger conversation on the internet doesn't use them or doesn't use them correctly. Like I was just
Oh, like for the opposite of generative AI, like the different types of
no, just
AI.
like in general, like for machine learning is not the method used by AI. It's all just machine learning, uh, is what somebody just DM'd me. So I would just say everybody just do their own research and stuff, because I'm not a source on this. I am
Yeah,
not, and I don't want to accidentally mislead anybody on it. I know that like different things and stuff I've seen on AI, I know it can be very helpful.
hmm,
I have a hard stance against Nano saying that people with disabilities cannot write without AI.
yeah,
That is hard stance. That is incorrect. So
hmm,
I definitely would say like
yeah.
um
For me, it's a thing of like, currently there is no way to like ethically use generative AI, right? Like if the whole like if it wasn't a plagiarism machine and wasn't like sucking up the environment, then like I would be perfectly fine with it. Like conceptually, it's a perfectly fine thing. It's just that it was built off the backs of. Wait, what term am I looking for?
you're describing teenage with
Oh,
animals. Out of
the thing that
context though.
yeah, I
Um
was like, what do you mean I'm hallucinating?
it has been recommended that a good starting point for anybody interested in learning all of the terminology and stuff is large language model.
That makes sense.
So I would that's where I would suggest starting, because that's where I was just told to start. But yes, I am glad that I now know why everybody is jumping ship this year, because I had absolutely no idea that that was going on under my rock that I have been living. Kelly said, "Sorry, Tina."
No worries,
Oh,
especially because I'm currently in like skull face paint. I'm like,
I was like,
so,
"What are we hallucinating?" Like,
yeah.
look, chat is or with the Sam chat here on my channel. It is always a 50-50 whether it's educational or they're fucking with us.
Mhm.
So, we just gotta check sometimes. Also, look at this lovely pattern. Oh, you can't see this. There we go.
Oh yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, from back here. Oh, well, okay, it's easier to tell now that I've shown it up close, but it's just sort of some of the blues blended in together, but this is for one of my children. I
Nice, nice.
want to start the sprint so I can go get a drink and read, but I have a cat very cozy on my lap now, so I'm like, have to summon a child. I'm gonna have to summon my oldest because my other two may complain about me asking them to get me a drink with a cat in my lap. My oldest, however, will just be like, I understand. So we will see you all in 20. Cute, same, Sam. It's all good.
Same. Yeah, same. Let's get this spring going.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We're back, but like I think I'm in the middle of the confession, and so I'm confused.
Should I vamp while you
No,
you continue?
fine. I'll just read it during the next sprint. Well, like, okay, Maurice, our darling Maurice. First off, everybody in chat, tell me how you did, so that this is your time to type up your progress. So
Who's
first,
Maurice?
Maurice is the main character.
Ah, okay, cool.
We've basically been following Maurice all his life. He's being raised by a single mom with two sisters, going to like all boys schools and stuff. Uh, and there are signs, because like we're reading from his perspective and stuff. There are signs from like a young age that he's into men. He's into boys. This was written in the 1910s, so um, I'm not super familiar with that era, but I do know that sexuality was very like hidden at the time. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, he also very condemned for being a Greek thing, which this book brings up.
Just really tickles me.
But yeah, so Maurice is Durham is the boy in the college that he's into, and I thought that he had realized that he was into Durham, but no, he just sort of accepted that he liked Durham more than he liked other people. Because our Maurice is a slow boy, very slow. Even like the narration at some point is like, Maurice, what? Like even Maurice is like, he's like, I'm slow. You have to give me time to process things. And so
Oh,
like he reads the symposium and stuff, and there's this girl over break that like his family introduces him
wait.
to. Huh.
He reads the symposium?
The symposium. Yeah, I don't know what the symposium is.
The symposium is a if I remember correctly, there might be a different symposium, but I think I know which one they're referring to. It's because I looked into it for research for a false oracle. Actually, it's a an account of symposiums, which were basically like Greek men having house parties where they, talked philosophy, and then towards the end of the night, as they were getting drunker and drunker, got up to shenanigans. So
Yes,
he was
that
literally
the
reading like what the
context
Greeks
clues.
do.
The context clues for the book. I thought the symposium was going to be something along those lines.
Yeah.
So like the book doesn't directly say it, but yes, that is.
Good for
So
him.
like Durham recommended that Maurice read the symposium after the conversation where it was like we omit like and he's like, what's the Greek things, and he's like, read the symposium. Like then you will know. So I'm like, okay. So yes, context clues would lead me to believe it is the same symposium. But like over break, there's this girl that like his family likes and everybody likes, and they're like, oh, you're charming and stuff. So he's like, yes, I am a man, and he's like probably 17 at this point. He's like, I'm a man, and I know how men man things, and so he like tries to court her and flirt with her, and she's like, oh yes, when she tells me not to do, she wants me to do things. At some point she's like, look, don't be silly, and I mean it, don't be, I'm not telling you to be sillier. Like she could just sort of, because we get like a small paragraph that's essentially her perspective. That's just like, yeah, no, guys try to hold her hand all the time. She doesn't mind guys holding her hand, but when Maurice tries to hold her hand, it's like it's a corpse. He is not into it, and this is weird to her. So she just like basically nopes out of that situation. Well, then like they get back to school, and he sees Durham, and like Durham's not feeling good and stuff. So he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No," and he's like stroking his hair, like doing that, like puts Durham's head on his lap. I'm like, "Oh, this is cute and stuff." And then like some other boys like get back, they're like, "Hall," and he's like, "Oh, I'm up here." Like goes up to the mantle and literally like leaves like this. And then like later on that night, Durham's like, "You read the symposium," and he's like, "Yeah." What's that got to do with anything? He's like, "So, like, I don't have to tell you, right? You just know." And Maurice is like, "I know. You know I'm slow." And he's like, "I love you," and I'm like, "Oh." But Maurice is like, what? No, I'm an Englishman. You're an Englishman. We can't be doing that. That's not
We're
right.
not Greek.
We're not Greek. No, and then he like goes, and then like Maurice spends the next day just absolutely, he feels so shitty. He's like, I don't know what to do. Like he cries, he hits the wall. He finally like has a come to Greek moment, and he's like, I am. I am.
Come to Greek.
I love that. I only did that because you're here.
Just
And you do.
really got me. I'm gonna start saying that. You've created a monster.
Good. I enjoy creating. I mean, my name is Momster. It works for me. Uh, I am a kid now, mother of monsters. But oh yeah. So he's basically like, okay. So I understand now. I am gay. I've always been gay. And the man that I am in love with is also in love. Also, remember they're teenagers.
Mhm.
The man that I am in love with also was in love with me, and I fucked it up. And so he's
Oh.
like, fix this. But like Durham had sent him a letter that was basically like, hey, yeah, we got a lot of friends in common. I would appreciate if you just didn't say anything. Just pretend I don't exist. And so like Maurice is like, no, I can't do that. I gotta talk to him because I fucked up. And so he's been trying to get like Durham's attention. Durham just keeps like avoiding him like the fucking plague. And then
Oh.
finally he like orchestrates it so that he and Durham are finally like alone. And Durham's like, look, it's fine. I get it. Look, I understand. Like it looks like you've been trying to apologize for the last 3 weeks, but like, bro, I can't handle it. It's fine. Okay, you've been wonderful. I'm the cursed monster here. Like you don't understand. And Maurice is like, no, I've been in a living hell for the last 3 weeks. And he's like, you don't understand what hell is because you've like never. And then Maurice just like, cause Durham's like, okay, fine, we could talk about it. And then like Maurice is trying to get the words, and then the timer goes off, and I'm like, no, but I need to know if Durham like if he forgives them. Like I know they're 17, and I've got 100, or I've got like 200-ish pages left, so maybe that's not his husband, but like this is at least his first boyfriend I want. So Kelly took her meds and watched some YouTube and have an armful of purring cat. I have a lap cat. Got a few rows. Jessica got a few rows done and is on row 8 out of 24. Awesome. I am on row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of 15. So, Jessica laughed. I figured out how to test the deck I was thinking of. Now I might be able to focus for the last sprint. Awesome.
Nice.
The timer wants to. The timer is rude as hell. I'm gonna tell y'all now. I have adjusted to the writing style, and I am appropriately invested in Maurice's life. After the stream, I may just curl up on the bed and finish the book. We will see. I want come to Greek moment on a t-shirt.
I mean, the only thing is that like the idea of like Greek referring to, stuff of that nature has a more specific definition of it being like uh, how do I phrase it in a
Like the
way that
better
doesn't.
term would have been gay awakening,
Yeah,
but
I'm just saying that like
because of the context of the book.
yeah, no, in the context of like joking about this book specifically, like come to Greek is like very funny and apt. The thing is that if you put it on a shirt, people will think you're talking specifically about butt stuff because that's usually what Greek refers to, regardless of gender. So so like maybe don't be putting that on a shirt unless you want people like strangers to pick that up about you.
My brain is growing up. growing up in the Bible Belt, I'm like, come to Sodom. Come to Sodom is like more what I would think of for that. But yes.
Yeah, no, it's like it's one of those terms that like comes
It
up
works
on
for the moment,
Urban
but not out
Dictionary
of
sort of thing,
context.
you know?
Yeah, it's one of those things that works for the moment, but not out of context.
Yeah, yeah. But with my friends, I will definitely be saying I had a come to Greek moment when talking about like gay things. And I
Poor
probably
Maurice
won't give any context.
poor Maurice has had so many gay panics that he didn't know were
Aw.
gay panics in this book. But now he knows.
I
Oh my gosh, this poor boy. He was like carrying around, like Jerome wrote him letters over the break, and he like carried every letter around in like a packet. He like even like pinned it to the inside of his pajamas. But then like after he got that letter where Jerome's like, if you could just like ignore me and not tell anybody, that would be great. And he went in a edgy emo moment, burned them all. And I'm like, you can't unburn those. My poor little boy. Panic that poor little boy, baby gay. He did like when he was 7 or 8. He had a like his family is very well to do, British rich, right? So they have these gardeners, and the gardeners like had a son about his age. Well, about the age of like 10 or so, I guess, they like send him off to like school and whatnot. And so they got like a new gardener kid, because I guess what the family does is they'll like employ like a younger boy to like help around the garden and stuff. And then when he becomes school,
oh, oh shoot. Is Sam frozen? Am I frozen? Well, I don't know. It could be either one at this rate. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see. Maybe, maybe not. Uh-oh. Well, I guess I will interrupt Sam's story to mention in the gay sports mafia book series All for the Game that I've been reading. The main character has a moment where one of the cheerleaders for the team approaches him, and she says like it's a thing of like all night they've been hanging out like the cheerleaders and the jocks, and he notices that she's kind of like in his orbit, and he like, oh,
kind of,
you back?
yeah, I'm back.
um I like started a story while you were gone. I'll very quickly finish
Okay,
it.
okay,
Um,
go ahead.
but so yeah, the cheerleader is like in the main character's orbit, and he notices her because it's in his POV, and we see that he notices her, but like doesn't think anything of it. And then at the end of the night, she approaches him and just like very like calmly and nicely is like, "I think you're interesting. I would like to get to know you by going out for coffee." And the first thing he thinks is, will my love interest still think that I'm interesting when he comes back from his plot shenanigans? And I was like, this poor boy. And at this point, he doesn't even know that he likes the love interest, and it's like, it's so fun. The story reminded me of your story because I do find it so funny when it's like when
When they,
characters like
yeah,
clearly like someone but they don't
but
know it
they
yet,
don't know. It's
in
so
a way
funny.
where it is like so obvious, but also I am that person. I'm so bad at knowing when people like me.
Well, I don't know how much you guys heard, but basically the family, like, from what I gather, they take younger boys and they like give them a little job, like helping out in the gardens and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're school age, they like help them go to school. So,
Okay.
which is kind of cool. But
That's the
as a
part where you cut off. So.
yeah, as a child, like he had gotten really attached to the garden, or like to his friend who gardened and stuff, and like had a naked dream, like a very innocent child naked dream where they're like just running around like naked and like riding on the back of horses and stuff, and this ominous voice whispers in his ear, "That's your friend." Like, that dream is stuck with him, but like that's the extent of it. And I'm like,
That's so funny.
okay then. That was like, I want to say he was between 10 to 11, and I'm like, yeah, that's about puberty. So, but yeah, so ever since then, there's just like been these things. There's will always have been like one boy that he's like more attached to than others, and he takes it a little harder when they like leave the friend group or when he has to switch schools or something. So yeah, he has his little pet. Like he freaked the fuck out when the one boy left because he was like, "Why did you fire him?" And they're like, "No, he's fine. He's just going to school and stuff." And he's like, "Okay."
No.
I'm almost done with the cross stitch design and should be about to start tomorrow on the actual piece. Nice.
Nice.
And then yes, I froze it. Jessica said, "Oh no, not the cheerleader." I've been on a hockey romance streak and recently read the first book for a gay hockey romance series, and I can't wait for the others to become available on Libby. Oh,
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
Chris and I started, and I want to finish. There is this anime about rugby, and it is so homoerotic.
Anime about rugby.
Like, I
Rugby.
don't use the term homoerotic often, nor lightly. There's like this one time when one of the characters like tackles another one, and he's just like over him, have him pinned down, and just basically says something along the lines of like he loves playing and like always being on top of him, and the other guy just sort of like takes it in stride and says something, and I'm like, okay, hold on. I will Google it for you, Bella. Rugby. There can't be that many rugby.
There's 3. I couldn't figure out which one you were talking about though from my cursory Google.
It might be Ice Shield 21.
I haven't watched
C5
gay anime in ages.
Okay. I seized one of the boys because I fucking hate his hair.
I love when you clock something like that where you're like, this fucker.
Okay, it was called All Out.
Oh, that is the one I was thinking it might be. Because I looked up, at first I just looked up rugby anime, and then I looked up rugby anime gay, and All Out was the first one that came up.
Let me tell you. I need to finish it though. But yes, there's that one guy's hair. I want to finish
always one.
hair for him.
I think the last gay anime I watched probably would have been Skate the Infinity, which was a while ago. But that one's good. I had fun with that one.
I have apparently learned that while my husband is perfectly content watching gay anime with me, he's not entirely comfortable watching extremely homoerotic straight anime. So I'm like,
interesting.
watch that one by myself.
Speaking of anime, have you heard about the controversy with Crunchyroll?
What is it doing?
Speaking of Skate the Infinity, actually, one of the voice actors who voices Adam in Skate the Infinity put a tweet being like, hey, anyone who sent me like fan mail like to Crunchyroll to get to me, it did not go to me, and Crunchyroll won't tell me where it was. And someone replied to it, and like allegedly what happened is that like every time like people would send like mail, like fan mail to voice actors, like to Crunchyroll to give to voice actors, Crunchyroll was just giving it out at like their employee like swag tables. And yeah, including like the one who voices Skate, the Adam and Skate, like there was a whole like zine about his character with a whole like gift package that like the zine like organizers like sent to Crunchyroll to give to him, and apparently just and they managed to recoup some of the stuff. But yeah, no, it's a whole big thing that's coming out where like because it's technically a federal crime, like
Yeah,
to
that
because they were
is.
fully opening mail
You're
and
right.
giving yeah
That's highly
and
illegal. Like on top
yeah
of just morally really
yeah
shitty, but like also
yeah,
like we
and it's a
need.
thing too of like, we don't know yet, like because like the voice actor is like, I literally have not received anything, but like even like I'm like, what did they do with like the personal letters and stuff? Like, but yeah, it's like developing on Twitter, so
I'll
we
have
shall
to like
see.
keep up with that.
Yeah,
Jessica said this how you remember anime characters. Yep. I didn't think it was Ice Shield 21. That's football, but I will definitely be looking it up. Well, the top 5, like several articles had Ice Shield 21 listed under rugby, which I also thought was wrong. So now I have to figure that out. Yeah, it's so shitty. Fucking with the mail in any way, shape, or form is a felony unless you are the sender or labeled receiver.
yeah, no,
Yeah, technically, it is illegal for me to open my husband's mail,
yep.
if I remember correctly. I had to learn that about the U.S. mail system in the military.
Yeah, it's the same for us as well here in Canada. Um, but yeah, no, it's quite the scam, and it's also one of those things too where like people were like, "Why the heck would you even do that?" Like sort of thing. Like,
Like, who
it's
thought
not
that
like
was okay?
yeah, because like yeah, especially because it's not like they were like. I mean, it would be one thing if they like were reselling it, because then of course the motive would be money. But like, what is the motive of like putting
Somebody
stuff that
just like
is
really wanted some of the swag and was like,
maybe?
mm,
But it seems to be that it's like everything, and we don't know yet. Like other like people have like come forward yet. I don't know if maybe like they don't want to, or like I'm wondering if like other voice actors are going to come out being like, oh, I also didn't receive sort of thing. So
yeah.
like we shall see. It's quite the scandal, but
Man.
yeah, really really rough. It does seem, if I remember correctly, the because of it all, like part of the news coming out was that like the VA for Adam had figured out about the zine, and like that he was supposed to receive a package, and he like posted an image being like, everyone at Crunchyroll, if you happen to see any of this stuff, can I have it back? But it seems to be that in him doing that, the organizers of the zine got in touch with him and seemed to be resending some of that stuff. So like it doesn't seem like he's going to be, entirely empty-handed of like stuff that people have like lovingly made of his,
Yeah, I was
the
about to.
character. But it's still like, we don't know what stuff, stuff that's maybe like handmade and stuff
Yeah,
being
I was about to
lost
say we
too. It
don't know
just
how many
oh
people have like in their room some handmade fan stuff that was not made for them.
yeah,
I hope it
yeah,
all gets
wild.
cursed and
And we
that they
also, yeah, we
still
don't know the
they endure.
caliber.
I
But yeah,
hope that
because
all the stuff that is taken is cursed and they endure inconveniences that are very
well,
annoying
well,
on a
that's the
day.
thing too, is that like from what I've gathered from like seeing like people talk about it on like the potentially employee side, I don't know how reliable this is. It seems to be that like as I said, like they were on like free like swag tables. This stuff is being put on, so the employees who were taking it probably didn't even know that it was like stolen mail. Um, and yeah,
I
wild
will
stuff.
believe that to a point.
It really did, like we don't know the extent of like what was being taken and what was being just like thrown out, or what is maybe
Exactly.
still
That's
being
why I said I
kept,
would
or
believe that to a point. Because there's just
yeah.
some stuff that you see. Like, I've worked enough conventions, and, like,
Oh
for
yeah.
example, there's some stuff that gets left at the booth that is like, oh, well, this is one of those free things that the big
Hmm.
booths were giving out and stuff. And that stuff will sort of, like, just put to the side or under the table or something. But if we get something that it's, like, very obviously this is somebody, like, we get people leave pieces of their cosplay all the time. Or, like,
Oh yeah.
or stuff that they buy from like artist alley because they'll like put it down to pay, and then like they're so excited about what they just bought, they walk off. And that stuff will like try to kind of like we'll put out and everything, and it's like if the people don't come back by Sunday, then we like sort of like employees are kind of allowed to like keep it, because like after Sunday there's no way for us to give it back, right? The convention's over and stuff, but like during the weekend it's like no, you can. There's like a really big like I said, I will believe it to an extent.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me so sad. But
And I
but yeah,
mean,
hopefully it'll get
the
sorted.
daily inconveniences.
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think of what else to talk about.
I am very pleased that fanzines are slowly becoming a thing again.
I mean, there's so many. I've seen so many. But
yeah, but like fanzines used to be fucking huge, right? Like they used to be like super big, and then they went away for a really long time because of like different reasons. But now they're like coming back. Like we just bought the unofficial guide to the Legend of Zelda, which from looking at it, it looks very much like a fanzine. And just like the way it's put together, I'm like, this was done by loving fans. Like, I love it. And though I do not always agree with all the opinions in fanzines, but it's just fun.
I was actually just before the stream talking about how this book series I'm reading has had a renaissance because of the new book coming out, like fandom wise, and just like today, maybe even yesterday, a like fan like event happened where like they're basically posting like a collective of like canon timeline divergent fics slash fan art. So like when they originally like the account originally posted just like a full timeline of like the first 3 books, and then like each fic has been like, what if instead of this thing happening, this thing happened? They have a little graphic where like the timeline goes up, and it's very cool. I might like that little timeline thing. I might take inspiration from, because I really like that idea. But it's been so much fun. One of them was that instead of the main character like going to scream at the love interest for invading his privacy, the main character instead captures a goose and puts it in the love interest dorm room and sets up a bunch of like Home Alone style traps in the dorm room, and explicitly says it's based off of Home Alone. And I was like, this is one of the funniest things I've ever read. And then there's a lot of people taking this one character who they really like and being like, but what if we had him on the good guy's side early in the series, and even earlier in the series, which I think is also very funny. And there's been some good like angsty ones too, but like the funny ones have been really good. I've been having a great time because, like, yeah, I'm in the midst of rereading this book series, and the fandom is just like exploding at the moment in a way that's very very enjoyable for me as a notorious fandom lurker. But yeah.
My dog is sniffing my husband's luggage, making sure she's not going to try to eat it. My dogs are slowly gathering around me. And I know they want to go spend time with the coyotes. Lisa, go put your laundry in the washer right now.
You can do it. We believe in you.
Artemis believes in you. I'm sorry you're in pain and that your tummy hurts. I will say that is a valid reason for not having done it yet.
That's fair.
Pain sucks. This darker color is much softer than the lighter colors had been. And that's kind of wild to me because if memory serves, black used to be the like harshest yarn for me to work with, regardless of like how high quality it was. Still rough. Also, I told my child I asked him to bring me a big cup of tea, and he brought me a cat.
Cute.
But don't be surprised if someone gets a random Discord message that just says, "I did my laundry, you're welcome." I mean, I will accept your random message. And I will tell you I'm proud of you after. My face is the perfect size for this cup. The ears, like, perfectly at my cheekbones.
Ah, brilliant.
Dog, don't breathe on me. I'm already warm enough. My back. I'm sorry your back hurts. Sound like you are going through it. My back / butt is also starting to ache, but for very different reasons, I'm sure. I am slightly spoiling the cat more than I usually would so that she does not go on the desk. I will start our sprint after a couple more stitches.
Sounds good.
I just don't like to I don't like to stop when I start a new row and then the row's just at that awkward angle. I like to get a bit done so that it looks like a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm on row 11. All right, we shall sprint. Yeah, we have a sprint left. We're about to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a bit of a long time between sprint 1 and 2 because we got into a very interesting discussion, which happens, and it's fine.
Yeah, we're chatty.
The stream will usually go a little bit longer tonight, but that's also fine. Slay, honestly. All right. We will. Hold on, I gotta take this one down. Okay. Perhaps my back will stop hurting long enough to do the laundry then. I'm rooting for you. I also, if there are painkillers that work and you are okay with taking them, encourage you to do so. I know they don't work for everybody, so. But here we go. 3, 2, 1. And we're back. The confession did not go well at first. Because Durham, who apparently his last name's Durham, his first name is Clive. So apparently Clive.
Those are both not names. Well, they are, but they're like old-timey names, which makes sense because it was written in 1910. But
there you go. I was like, Tina, these are very much names. But yeah, so
my
Clive
brain immediately went, these are colleges, because Durham especially is a college around here.
Well, Clive was like, basically accusing Maurice of just trying to be nice, and that he's basically just like too sweet and everything. And he's like, no, look, you've already been great. You haven't turned me into the dean or the police. It's fine. And Maurice just gets fed up and is like, go to hell, and leaves. But then like Maurice is just angry and angsty in the rain and like right outside, and then like I don't know, at some point he looks at Clive's room and he's like, no, I'm gonna go fuck him up. And then he goes in the room and he's like, but he's just so precious. I can't fuck him up. And then Clive says Maurice's name, and Maurice is like, oh man, my crush said my name in his sleep, and I'm just wildly in love with him. And then we go to part 2 of the book, which we then get Clive's point of view, which how I found out his name was Clive. Because it was like, Clive, I'm like, who the fuck is Clive? Why do I care? Maurice has only called him Durham, right? Just like most of them call Maurice Hall, because his name is Maurice Hall. And they all just refer to each other. That was fine. I just, at no point, internalized that I don't even know if they said his name was Clive before this moment. But either way, we get his backstory, which apparently he's just always known since he was a kid. Had some like internalized trauma going on there. And then like at some point he's like, yeah, no, I have crushes on boys. I get that. That's fine. I'm gonna just focus on music and just make music and we're good. Eventually I'll get married and have kids and that's how I will live life. And then like he starts hanging out with Maurice and he's like, oh, I'm kind of really into Maurice. He's like, but it's okay because Maurice is straight and so it's whatever. But then like he starts catching vibes from like Maurice's expressions sometimes, and then they like get closer. And then finally, like after he reads the symposium and stuff, and he's all like, so he knows, and so he is. And then like after he confesses, he's like, oh my god, I made it all up in my head. I am like the worst person ever. I just he's like, I'm broken and I tried to like make Maurice bring all he's just having all these feelings and stuff. And then like, he goes to bed that night feeling really shitty because Maurice was like, go to hell, it's all you're good for. And he's like, it is all I'm good for.
Oh.
So he like goes to bed. But he like wakes up and says Maurice's name and then sees Maurice rain dripping in his room. And I'm like, I would be freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
I'd be like, sir, how did you get in here? I don't care how much I like you. We just had a fight and now you're standing over me. They're all like, there's like rain and shit and you're just dripping. Like, but apparently, like, Clive's just real out of it or whatever. He's just like, Maurice, and Maurice is like, Clive. And he's like, Maurice, oh, I love you, Maurice. And Maurice is like, yeah, I know. And then kisses him and then disappears back out the window like he's fucking Batman. I'm like, but then, like, the next day they get together, they just skip school together, go on, like, a motorcycle ride. The motorcycle, like, breaks down, and they're like, well, oh well. And they just, like, hang out, and they, like, go over a river, and they just have a really good, like, date day. And I'm like, it's so cute, it's so precious. Let me tell you, I don't care how much I like a motherfucker. If I wake up and they're like, I would be like, how did you get in my room? Why are you here? We're not gonna sleepily confess our love. And they're like, no, Batman. What is going on? But we're like, excuse me, Artemis, my bad. We're like on page 78 of 240 or 250. Our boys are like 19, 18. They're like, they're very young adults. And I'm like, I hope this is just a really sweet romantic biography of these gay boys. And I hope that nothing terrible happens. But we will see. Bella said, "Thanks for the talk about laundry. I completely forgot my stuff was in the wash." Well, you're very welcome. Lisa went to bed. Thanks for joining us, girl. Hope
Oh,
you
have a good night.
some sleep. Uh, I spent that sprint heating up food and eating it.
Nice.
It's been a sprint. I got some stuff for school in January done on the internet. I activated my bus card for the school bus pass, and I think it worked. We'll know in about 16 hours. Fair enough.
Oh, I know what you're. I think I know what you're talking about. If it's not like a school bus specific, because I'm like 16 hours. I think is yeah. Usually they do activate much sooner than that. So, uh, luck is on your side.
They are poor angsty babies.
Yeah.
And I save my class schedule to a thumb drive so I can look at getting my books. I don't want to spend that kind of money on textbooks. One of my Insta buy authors is coming out with a new book. I like feel that, like, especially since, oh my god, I could go on about college textbooks because, like, my husband and all my siblings went to school, and there were like, they will put out an edition, like for colleges in America, they will put out an edition of a textbook and then like slightly rearrange things and then put out a new edition, and they're like, no, you're required to have like the newest edition.
I
But
will
like
say,
almost nothing will have changed. But there's like some really good like buying like old books or renting books and stuff, other options, but it's just so stupid.
I will say, with buying textbooks, wait until like after your first week of those classes, because I know nowadays teachers are really like in my classes, like teachers have fully been like, "Oh, you don't need to buy the textbook," because a lot of the times it's a thing of like the textbook is just put in there because they need to have a textbook for the curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
like
That's
sort
true.
of thing, right? And like so yeah, I only bought one of I think like three textbooks that were mentioned, and one of them was gonna be a good like $300 because of it has like a disc with it and whatever, and I'm like, I don't even have a disc drive on my computer, what am I doing with a disc? um, but and it is a thing too of like there are also sneaky piratey ways to get your textbook. I have where I bought my one textbook, which actually is sitting right here currently on a little stand, but I did actually also pirate a ebook version of it, because then I also have that textbook on my phone slash my devices, because it's like backed up to like my ebook cloud, which is so handy because this textbook is freaking heavy. And even though I do prefer to like have a physical textbook, it is nice having both options.
One of my sister's teachers was like, "Hey, yeah, so they like want us to make you get this book, but they're like, but if you buy this other edition, which is like $200 cheaper, it's like it's all the same stuff. You'll just have to like basically, if we're like on chapter 3, you may have to go to chapter 5 or something, but because it's the same stuff, they just moved it around
Mhm.
for that like specific edition. I'm not saying all of them, but yeah.
I had a
Our
university professor who wrote the textbook for the class and then spent the first class explaining that the author of the textbooks actually get very, very little of the money for
Mhm.
buying the textbook, and then proceeded to send us a digital version of said textbook.
Say,
He pirated his own textbook.
I was gonna say he could just like be like, guys, $5.
He didn't even. He just posted it, and it
Yeah,
was
no,
funny
but
because it
I'm
was
saying
about.
that like he could probably just ask for $2 to $5 and he'd like give it to y'all and he'd make more that way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and it
I'm
was
not.
funny because it was a class about the internet, and one of the things was about piracy. Like,
RP said, got my bag packed for my D&D session tomorrow. Nice.
nice.
Kelly said, I hope so, Tina. And then, oh, it's the same up here in Canada, Sam. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. All right. Tina, and then, like, I read about, like, some of the European academies in these books and stuff, and they just go borrow their parents' textbooks from when they were in school.
I do have one of my classmates took this class like 5 years ago and kept the textbook because it was so expensive. So she now just has the textbook, and it's only like 2 editions off, but the teacher is like, that edition is perfectly fine as well. I wish I'd learned
I'm
that
like,
before I
the
had bought
resale
mine.
value is.
Yeah. Although I do want to keep this textbook, and also too, I shouldn't complain because my dad did where he like hassled me for like the first 2 weeks of class, being like, "Do you have textbooks to buy? What are your textbooks?" And this was at the point
We
where I was
can
like,
still complain about the something. Fuck, what is
"Well,
it?
he
There's a
sent me the
word.
money for the textbook, and then I bought it." So
Point.
I did not actually technically. Well, I paid a
No,
dime for it, but that dime was paid back. So
no, there's a word I'm looking for. It means like we can still complain about like the point or the idea, the principle. We can
yeah.
still complain about the principle because like I technically didn't have to buy any textbooks. I didn't go to college, so but I know enough people who did that it pisses me off. So I will complain about the principle of the matter all I
Yeah.
want.
I mean, the good
Um,
news is that this textbook is also for multiple semesters because it's one of those courses where we take like number one and then number two and then number. I think we take it all four, maybe, but yeah. So it should be fine. But
if I
yeah, it's
remember.
definitely worth the money. It's one of those ones that I will probably keep for future reference when I'm actually in the workforce. But
Oh yeah, I imagine a
yeah,
lot of medical textbooks are good to just have around the house.
yeah. I didn't want to say what my degree was in on stream, Sam. Don't tell people I'm getting my doctorate. I'm gonna
Sorry.
become a pediatrician. I'm gonna wear this makeup every day.
All right. So we should head out then.
Yes.
All right. I will talk to everybody later. Thanks for hanging out with us. My schedule for November and December should be posted by the end of this week.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you all later. Thanks for hanging, Tina. Bye.
Bye.